Some men are born in fire, and instead of being consumed by it, they learn to master the flame. Here's the raw truth no one likes to admit: not every warrior is shaped on a battlefield. Some are forged at the dinner table, in homes filled with emotional landmines, silent battles, and psychological warfare masked as family love. Studies show that kids raised in toxic households often develop sharper emotional awareness, but for Sigma males, it goes even deeper. They aren't just survivors. They're disruptors of broken systems. While others break down or adapt to survive, the Sigma male transforms, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, into something the system can't define and the world can't control. He becomes self-reliant, razor-sharp, and quietly powerful, refusing to be boxed in, especially by the dysfunctional narratives his own family tried to trap him with. And let's be honest, if pain built empires, Sigma males would own the blueprint. But what's truly remarkable isn't the trauma, it's the transformation. It's not about what happened to him, but what he became because of it. In today's video, we're going beyond the cliches. No sugarcoating. No, he had it rough but made it through generic storyline. This is about the hidden gifts forged in darkness, the brutal awakenings, the psychological armor, the unshakable mindset, and the almost supernatural coping mechanisms he develops that most people can't even begin to understand. So buckle up. This isn't a sob story, it's a survival blueprint wrapped in hard-earned insight. Number 1. He doesn't idolize family, he redefines it. Sigma males don't glorify family just because they share DNA. He learned early that some of the most manipulative, emotionally destructive people you'll ever meet are the ones sitting across the holiday dinner table. When guilt, favoritism, betrayal, or psychological manipulation come from the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, the illusion shatters. And for the Sigma male, it shatters for good. He stops worshiping the family he was born into and begins creating a new one defined not by blood, but by truth, mutual respect, and emotional safety. In his world, loyalty isn't owed, it's earned. He refuses to stay in relationships where love is conditional, where obedience is demanded, or where silence is the price of inclusion. He won't stay loyal to people who weaponize his loyalty the moment he sets a boundary. And here's what people misunderstand: he's not bitter, he's strategic. Cutting ties doesn't come from hate. It comes from a quiet decision to protect his peace. Most don't see the years of second chances he gave, the red flags he ignored, or the way he begged himself to believe they'd change. They don't hear the silent breaking point where he realized, I don't have to keep bleeding to keep others comfortable. So he walks away. Not to rebel, but to heal. He builds his own version of family, one that makes sense. A best friend who shows up without being asked. A mentor who honors his silence. A partner who listens without trying to control him. These people may not share his last name, but they share something deeper: alignment. To him, family isn't tradition, it's truth. And when he calls someone family now, it's not out of habit, it's sacred. His story flips the script: just because someone gave you life doesn't mean they have the right to poison it. Just because someone shares your genes doesn't mean they share your values. The Sigma male isn't anti-family. He's pro-authenticity. And that's what makes the people he keeps close feel like royalty. They didn't get there by accident or obligation, they earned their place through consistency, honesty, and loyalty. Because in his world, love isn't blind, it's aware. Number 2, he listens to what isn't said. Growing up in a home where "I love you" might be followed by a cutting remark, or worse, total silence, teaches the Sigma male a rare survival skill. He learns to listen between the lines. Words become suspicious. He starts analyzing tone, pauses, eye movement, even how someone holds a coffee cup. Because in his world, a foot tapping under the table often spoke louder than an entire conversation. While others argued over what dad meant, the Sigma was already reading the emotional forecast 5 minutes ahead. What started as survival became mastery. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Every sigh, awkward blink, and subtle deflection gets mentally archived. Over time, he builds a kind of emotional algorithm that detects deception faster than facial recognition software. People call it intuition. He calls it data. But the skill comes with side effects. Small talk is unbearable. He hears the tension under every fake laugh, every forced compliment, like static before a storm. Say, "I'm fine," with slumped shoulders, and he hears the emergency alarm buried in your tone. That's why his circle is small and brutally honest. He's tired of pretending he doesn't notice the undercurrent of dishonesty in everyday conversation. Most conflicts don't explode because of what's said, they erupt from what's buried. The Sigma sees the pressure building before others even notice the cracks. He'll catch a subtle eye twitch during a financial meeting and ask the uncomfortable question that saves the entire project. He's the calm guy who prevents chaos, because he's already mapped out the emotional landmines. And this gift? It's portable. Whether he's on a date, in a meeting, or standing in a security line, he's scanning body language like TSA scans luggage. It's not mind reading, it's fluency in a language everyone speaks but almost no one studies. That emotional literacy turns conversations into chessboards, and he's always 3 moves ahead. Not because he's magic, but because he listens to the silence. The skill didn't cost money, it cost childhood anxiety. But now, it pays dividends in every area of life. Colleagues call it uncanny. Lovers find it unnerving. Rivals say it's unfair. He just shrugs. Because in a world full of noise, he knows the loudest truths enter quietly. And whoever hears them first, owns the room. Bonus insight, his radar doesn't only detect darkness, it also picks up on quiet loyalty. That rare energy that doesn't shout for attention but hums with sincerity. When he finds someone whose silence vibrates at his frequency, that's who he trusts. He jokes he could build an unspoken analytics app. His friends say it would bankrupt every lie detector on the internet. Number 3, he escaped a rigged system, so he never plays by it again. Growing up in a toxic environment is like being thrown into a carnival game that's secretly rigged. No matter how well you aim, the ring never lands on the bottle. The Sigma male figured that out early, usually before puberty. He realized the rules weren't designed to help him grow. They were designed to keep him spinning, paying in time, energy, and self-worth. So he did the most radical thing he could, he stopped playing. He tore off the metaphorical wristband, climbed over the gate, and stepped into open terrain, a space where the odds weren't preloaded against him. That jailbreak rewired his thinking in 2 critical ways. First, approval lost its power. What once felt like oxygen, applause, validation, acceptance, now registers as background noise. The family members or authority figures who dangled praise like a reward lost their grip when he realized the tank was empty all along. Now he breathes self-validation, it's portable, renewable, and free. Second, permission died. The old gatekeepers used to stamp every dream with red ink, too risky, too weird, too much. So he stole the stamp, set it on fire, and started granting his own green lights. That's why outsiders think he's allergic to authority. But really, he's just immune to corrupt referees. And here's the twist, walking away from a broken system doesn't make him lawless. It makes him an architect of better rules. His personal code is simple but unbreakable, integrity over image, peace over performance, freedom over familiarity. He'll work with others, sure, but only if their rules don't come with fine print and invisible chains. If a workplace, relationship, or community starts to smell like the old rigged carnival, with hidden fees, shifting standards, and popularity contests, he vanishes faster than you can say, family reunion. This isn't rebellion. It's relapse prevention. The reward? Velocity. While others spend decades greasing squeaky wheels just to stay tolerated, the Sigma male is sprinting across roads he paved himself. He launches projects without asking for permission. He loves without needing approval. He exits environments that measure worth by compliance. Critics call him unstable. He calls it learned efficiency. Because really, why waste a lifetime trying to win a game that was never built for you? So when someone waves a shiny trophy and says, "Jump through our hoops," the Sigma male just smiles, pockets his own set of keys, and walks away. Better to build a new world than to master a broken one. Number 4, his independence is rooted in survival, not pride. Independence often looks glamorous from the outside, like a man heroically choosing solitude while the rest of the world walks hand in hand. But for the Sigma male, independence wasn't a bold lifestyle decision. It was a survival mechanism. It didn't begin as rebellion. It began as a firewall. Picture a boy who kept offering his heart only to watch it come back bruised and overdrawn. Promises bounced. Secrets were leaked. Support was revoked the second it became inconvenient. By the 5th, "I've got your back," turning into "oops, sorry, you're on your own," he started doing the math. Reliance minus reciprocity equals emotional bankruptcy. That's when survival instincts took over. He redefined help as something he gives himself. Now, people misread his self-sufficiency as arrogance, as if he's too proud to be a team player. Hardly. He just remembers the emotional surcharge that came with every so-called handout, the guilt, the manipulation, the favors that turned into weapons. Those memories are burned into the underside of his eyelids. He can't blink without seeing them. It's not ego that makes him refuse a safety net. It's the invoice labeled, "Never again." Ironically, he's actually generous. He'll give you advice, offer help, even carve out space in his schedule, not because he's trying to impress you, but because he knows what it feels like to have no one. But that generosity flows in one direction until you've proven you can return it with integrity. That's the logic: give without expectations, but never tie your survival to someone else's unstable ethics. His independence is a seatbelt designed after too many airbags failed to deploy. That whole "I'd rather crawl alone" mindset? It's not a dramatic slogan. It's a strategic safeguard. Yes, crawling alone hurts, but at least you control the direction. Being carried by someone who might drop you, or worse, parade you around as proof of their kindness, hurts in ways that echo for years. Crawling heals scraped knees. Betrayal breaks the psyche. What most people overlook is the peace that hides in that rugged autonomy. When you know you can weather your own storms, any genuine ally becomes a bonus, not a lifeline. And that shift turns relationships from transactions into true connections. No one holds power over a Sigma male, because he's already paid the full price of self-reliance. So yes, to the casual observer, he might seem too independent. But independence, for him, is simply a receipt stamped paid, the cost of surviving betrayal and buying back his freedom. Call it pride if you want. He calls it peace with interest. Number 5, he develops a razor-sharp BS radar. Growing up in a home where truth was always conditional didn't just shape the Sigma male, it trained him. When honesty is a rare currency, you learn to detect counterfeits early. He didn't plan to become a human lie detector. He had to. Each broken promise, each manipulative "I love you," trained his senses like a locksmith learning how to hear the click of tumblers. Over time, every micro-expression became data: the half-second hesitation before a yes, the eyebrow that twitches when someone feigns innocence, the vocal tone that sharpens like a knife testing its edge. One childhood. 1,000 micro-lessons. Now, he can read a room faster than most people find the exit sign. But make no mistake, his radar isn't powered by bitterness. It's fueled by pattern recognition. He's not hunting for villains, he's scanning for consistency. If your actions match your words, he relaxes. If they don't, warning lights flash. He rarely confronts lies directly, that's amateur hour. Instead, he lets the falsehoods collapse under their own weight while he adjusts his proximity. No drama. Just strategic distancing. This hyper-awareness has an upside that most overlook: he becomes a safe haven for the brutally honest. Artists, innovators, deep thinkers, they find him refreshing because there's no need to perform. He sees through the mask, so they skip the act. What would take others weeks of surface-level conversation, he distills in 20 minutes, no wasted breath selling glitter. Still, the gift has a price. Small talk feels like slogging through syrup. He can taste the artificial sweetener in every empty compliment. And dating apps? Carnival mirrors, fun to swipe, useless for real reflection. But he accepts the solitude tax, because the alternative is drowning in half-truths. He'd rather hear one ugly truth than 1,000 polished lies. To outsiders, it looks like a superpower. To him, it's just muscle memory. You don't praise a firefighter for noticing smoke, you thank him for acting before the house burns. Likewise, when his radar pings, he's already walking either toward truth or away from trouble. And yes, that radar scans inward, too. If it catches his own inconsistency, he adjusts without ego, because credibility is the only currency he refuses to counterfeit. Number 6, he treats peace like a survival necessity. While most people romanticize love or success, the Sigma male romanticizes something far rarer: peace. Because he grew up in chaos, not just loud chaos, but the kind that lurks behind smiles and silence. Breakfasts filled with shouting, dinners drowned in icy silence, and emotional grenades thrown during commercial breaks. That was the soundtrack of his youth. So while others chase stimulation, he learned early that a quiet room and an untangled mind are luxury items. For him, peace isn't a preference, it's life support. It's oxygen. You only notice it's missing when you're gasping for it. That's why his radar for drama is dialed to high sensitivity. At the first whiff of unnecessary chaos, he's gone, latte still steaming. Not because he hates people, but because he knows dysfunction is contagious. He watched it infect relatives, partners, entire households, tantrums, guilt trips, emotional manipulation passed around like a virus. His cure? Not confrontation. Distance. His life now runs on a strict no-noise policy. Gossip? Muted. Passive aggression? Airlocked. Guilt trip invitations? Marked as spam and auto-deleted. People expect explanations, negotiations, closure. But he's not running an emotional credit card company. There's no revolving balance with him. Break the peace once, and you're gone, no drama, just a quiet, never again. Sound harsh? Not when you understand the economics. One pointless argument can steal days of clarity, days he could have spent on creativity, joy, or actual rest. That's why he defends his peace like a survival resource. If you're in his space, it means you've passed the vibe audit. Congrats. You're trustworthy caffeine, not an anxiety energy drink. And because he protects his serenity so fiercely, time with him feels weightless. No tiptoeing, no hidden agendas, no landmines. Just clear air and honest presence. Even his humor is peace-oriented. He'll joke that his version of Netflix and chill is literally Netflix and chill, volume at 20, phone on airplane mode, existential dread postponed until Monday. If that sounds boring, you're probably addicted to background drama the way some people are addicted to background TV noise. He wishes you well, from a distance. Meanwhile, he's home, wrapped in silence that doesn't threaten to explode. And that, to him, is paradise. Number 7. Trust is a foreign language he had to learn alone. For the Sigma male, trust isn't something that comes naturally, it's a complex code he had to decipher on his own. Where most people see warmth, he sees a locked vault. Growing up, the very people meant to protect his heart used it like a scratch pad for their chaos. Promises were rewritten mid-sentence. Boundaries faded in and out. Loyalty was conditional, granted one moment, revoked the next. But he didn't respond with tears. He responded with mental encryption. Every smile, every pause, every "you can tell me anything" was run through an internal security system, calculating the likelihood of betrayal before a word ever left his lips. While others exchanged secrets at sleepovers, he was running emotional risk assessments. If I open up, who benefits if I fall? That internal algorithm never sleeps. Offer him your trust, and he might nod politely, but behind that calm exterior, he's scanning your tone, your track record, your body language when no one's watching. It's not paranoia. It's emotional forensics. He's learned that vulnerability is expensive, and he's done being audited by emotional frauds. One exaggerated story? Noted. A passive-aggressive joke? Logged. A guilt trip? Flagged. Show even a flicker of inconsistency, and the vault door stays shut. But here's the twist, behind that steel security system is immense generosity. Once you've proven your integrity, not through charm, but through consistency, he'll open up in a way that feels like unlocking a new level of truth. He'll share insights, raw thoughts, and guarded wisdom that could change your entire worldview. But the password isn't sweet talk, it's reliability. Cancel once? Fine. Twice? Noted. 3 times? Access denied. He treats dependability like oxygen. Violate it, and everything collapses. Those who earn his trust get the rarest currency, unfiltered truth with no manipulation attached. He won't gossip. He won't use your words as weapons. His rule? Never share something you wouldn't stand behind in front of a judge. Critics say he's guarded. He calls it being strategically transparent. His walls weren't built out of ego, they were built out of necessity. When you grow up being emotionally looted, you learn to guard your gold. So when he finally speaks without the filter, without the calculator running in the background, know this, you're not just hearing words. You're hearing a language he taught himself in the dark, just in case someone worthy ever came along to truly listen. Number 8, he doesn't just break generational cycles, he rewrites the blueprint. The Sigma male doesn't just reject toxic patterns, he builds a whole new playbook from scratch. He's allergic to that tired old line, "This is how we've always done it." Instead of tweaking that outdated manual, he tossed it in the shredder and used the confetti to pack his one-way ticket out of dysfunction. Breaking the cycle isn't the end. That's just day one of demolition. What excites him is building, laying fresh foundations where old trauma used to live. He doesn't just want to break free, he wants to build something so real, so rooted, no future generation will ever have to question their worth again. The first standard he rewrites? Silence. In the old house, silence was a weapon, the eerie calm before emotional warfare. Now, it's sacred. Silence is his sanctuary, a space where he can breathe without bracing for impact. Next, loyalty. Forget the bloodline mythology. In his world, loyalty means reciprocity. Show up. Be real. Respect boundaries. That's the legacy. If you can't match that energy, no hate, but the elevator's heading up, and he's not hitting pause for passengers still dragging emotional baggage. Conflict gets a reboot too. No more guilt trips. No yelling. No psychological warfare disguised as tough love. In his version, disagreement comes with clear communication, mutual respect, and a shared goal to leave the room with everyone's dignity intact. Think fiber optic clarity, not dial-up drama. And humor? That's sacred too. In his past, jokes came with daggers. Now, laughter is a pressure valve, not a veiled insult. Any joke that aims below the belt fails the code instantly. Even his relationship with self-respect has been reconstructed. He tightens those standards like a belt, secure enough to hold the whole thing upright on days when motivation vanishes. Future generations won't inherit unresolved pain, they'll inherit an instruction manual built on clarity, boundaries, and inner peace. He's not just ending a toxic legacy, he's uploading an entirely new emotional operating system. One that auto-updates before dysfunction can even install itself. And here's the final twist, these standards aren't optional. They're non-negotiable. Etched in stone. If he has to walk alone to preserve them, so be it. Call it stubborn. He calls it future-proofing, because he knows this truth. Legacies aren't built by mimicking the past. They're built by having the courage to bury it, and start fresh. Number 9, he doesn't just cut people off, he cuts out patterns. When a Sigma male cuts ties, it's not an emotional outburst, it's a strategic reset. Most think he's just removing a toxic parent, a manipulative sibling, or a fake friend. But the truth is deeper, he's cutting out the pattern that allowed them to exist in his life to begin with. He's not wielding scissors, he's performing emotional surgery. He's not just removing people, he's extracting emotional viruses passed down like family heirlooms, guilt-based love, emotional blackmail, weaponized silence. He's not numbing the pain, he's going to the root. Because he knows the hard truth most people avoid, what you don't heal, you repeat. Dysfunction loops through generations, repackaged, renamed, rejustified, until someone finally says, it ends here. That someone is him. When he walks away, it's not a tantrum, it's a detox. He's not dodging holiday dinners or ghosting family chats. He's breaking cognitive loops, reprogramming beliefs, and cleansing his nervous system from years of emotional addiction. That's why his departure can seem cold. But healing, when it's real, often looks heartless from the outside. It's not revenge. It's release. He's not trying to teach anyone a lesson. He's just unavailable for roles that require self-abandonment. The guilt tactics don't work anymore. The manipulation scripts don't run. Even the be the bigger person plea now sounds like a trick to keep him small. He doesn't want revenge, he wants peace. And if that means burning the bridge and the blueprint it was built on, so be it. This is what sets him apart from people who cut off others but still carry the same toxic patterns into new relationships. Not the Sigma. He's a one-man pattern disruptor. He doesn't just leave dysfunction, he rewrites his entire emotional operating system. He pinpoints the leak. He seals it. Permanently. That's why his energy feels rare, because it is. You're not meeting someone who just escaped a toxic past. You're meeting someone who refused to repeat it. So when he exits, it's not explosive, it's final. Surgical. Quiet. No drama. No need for applause. He removes what doesn't align and moves forward without looking back. And in doing so, he frees not just himself, but every future version of him that might have had to inherit emotional debris that wasn't theirs to carry. That's not cruelty. That's legacy correction. That's power. Number 10, he builds his identity from the ground up. In toxic families, you're not nurtured, you're assigned a role. The golden child. The scapegoat. The emotional punching bag. The invisible one only noticed when someone needs a favor. These roles aren't earned, they're imposed, and stepping out of character means risking exile from the very people who claim to love you. But the Sigma male sees through the act early. He recognizes the entire setup is rigged, to keep him small, submissive, predictable. And instead of perfecting a role he never asked for, he does something radical, he throws out the entire script. This isn't teen rebellion, it's a soul-level rebellion. A conscious decision to walk away from a theater of dysfunction, even if it means stepping into the unknown with nothing but the emotional rubble he escaped from. He doesn't do it for applause, because he knows none is coming. He does it for authenticity. And from those emotional ashes, he starts constructing something real. Not based on inherited beliefs, not shaped by guilt or fear, but brick by brick, built from his own tested values. He questions everything. What do I actually believe, when fear isn't doing the talking? What do I want, separate from what I was trained to want? What parts of me were silenced just to keep the peace? The answers come slowly, but each one is a form of liberation. And here's where the Sigma male becomes a mystery to others. He doesn't swap one label for another. He doesn't get stuck in a new identity. He evolves. One day he's the strategist. The next, he's the creator, the philosopher, the wanderer. His sense of self isn't fixed, it's fluid, because it's rooted in truth, not expectation. He gives himself the permission to grow, to shift, to unbecome what they tried to force him to be. This is why people can't figure him out. He doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't echo dysfunction. He doesn't cling to inherited roles or recycled beliefs. He reprogrammed himself outside the system that tried to own him, and now he's untouchable in the best way. Rejection doesn't scare him. He's already been misunderstood by the people who claim to love him most. He's not rebuilding so he can be welcomed back. He's building a new table, one that doesn't wobble under tradition, guilt, or manipulation. And only those who value truth over loyalty get a seat. Final thoughts. The Sigma male doesn't just walk away from dysfunction, he dismantles it. He doesn't crave validation, he lives in alignment. Through quiet strength and brutal honesty, he rewrites the legacy, not just for himself, but for every version of him yet to come. He doesn't perform, he transforms. He doesn't conform, he leads from within. Sigmas, if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and become part of a community that values depth over noise, strength over show, and freedom over fitting in. Let's keep growing. Let's keep rising. Stay sharp. Stay focused. Stay Sigma.